Hey everybody, and welcome back to Lindsey's Little Library. So I know I'm a little late to the game, but I want to talk about my July wrap up. Pretty decent month again. I think I read 10 books. Not too bad. One of them I'm not even going to talk about. Not that it wasn't good. It was very good. I just not even going to talk about it. So let's talk about the 9 ones that I want to share with you. Let's see. I have some here, but I successfully got through the majority of my library checkout books, which is fantastic. Yeah, I'm really bad at checking a bunch of them out and then not getting to them. Although it has helped because my library is still just curbside pickup only, which I'm not a fan of, and we can talk about that another day, but because I miss browsing. I miss going in and looking, and that's where I would find the random books to check out, and now it's just different. And so the ones I have been checking out, it's been very intentional, so I've been able to get through them faster, which I'm loving, but I feel like I'm missing out on those random finds. So first library book that I don't even know what order I'm going in, I'm just gonna go in what I have written down. First library book I checked out and read was Gemina. So that is the second book to the Illuminae series, I think it is. So Gemina is the continuation of the story, and Illuminae really, it's a sci-fi book, which is different for me, wholeheartedly different for me, but I love it because it's written so uniquely. You get case files and surveillance notes and instant messages and emails, and that's how this story unfolds for you. So there's basically been an attack that happened in space that was kind of under the radar, and people are fleeing because their planet was attacked, and then the company responsible for it is kind of chasing them because they don't want any witnesses. That all happens in the first book, and then this is just like a continuation. I should say it's kind of happening at the same time as the first book, but at a different place. And so they're kind of, now that I'm thinking of it, they kind of happened simultaneously. And I believe the third book is when these two groups kind of come together. But it's so good. It's so good. And I can't believe that I like it, but I gave it 5 stars. Another book I picked up in the month of July was The Port Chicago 50 by Steve Schenken. This is a nonfiction following the events that happened at the Port Chicago in California. It is a Navy base, and this all happened in July of 1944, so we're in the midst of World War II, and this follows a group of Black servicemen, I guess you could call them, who were all working there, and there was an explosion that happened at this port, because what they did at this port was they basically loaded ships with ammunition. It talks about the inequalities, it talks about just the pure racist ways the Navy was at that time, and then the events that followed it. So very short book. It is a nonfiction that reads like a fiction, which I love. It comes across as he was really great at telling this story, opening my eyes to something I knew nothing about, which I'm always looking for. But I really, really enjoyed this. If you haven't picked this up, I would highly recommend it. And I'm honestly wanting to look into more of his books because of the way he wrote it. Again, completely kept my interest, so I did give this 4 stars. Pick it up. Another book I picked up in the month of July was Shiner by Amy Jo Burns. This follows our main character, Wren, as she is growing up with her mother and father in West Virginia, in a mining town, and they live very much so out of society, up in the mountain, in a very hard place to get to. They don't interact with the town very often. Her father is a bit of a preacher, a bit of a... so every Sunday, Wren's father delivers winding sermons in an abandoned gas station where he takes up serpents and praises the Lord for his blighted white eye, proof of his divinity and key to the hold he has over this small community. So if you're not a fan of snakes, beware, because snakes play a big role in this. I'm not a fan of snakes, but so we follow the events of kind of what happened, and Ren coming to terms with the fact that her father really isn't who she thought he was. And just this course of events that wreaks havoc on Ren's life, and she having to really grow up and process this in a very short time frame. It is heartbreaking. It is written so well. I wouldn't say I loved it. It was fine. I gave it 3 stars, probably 3.5 stars. Heartbreaking, but yet again, written really, really well. So there's Shiner. I still say pick it up. Another book I picked up in the month of July was Beach Read by Emily Henry. I think I got that right. I already loaned it out to someone. I gave this one 4 stars. This follows, and I feel like I've talked about this so much on my channel, but we have Augustus and, oh Lord, what's her other name? Anyways, they're 2 authors, and they end up living next to each other for a summer on a lake. They are old rivals. They haven't really seen eye to eye like ever, and kind of both surprised that they're living next to each other. They both have writer's block. So one of them writes very literary fiction, and the other writes contemporary romance. And so they decide to kind of flip-flop their genres to help them break free of this writer's block. And so they take each other on these different adventures to kind of give them inspiration, and it goes from there. There is little jabs that go back and forth between the two that I found funny and enlightening, and they both didn't realize they needed each other as badly as they did. It was a fantastic book. I gave it 4 stars. All right, we're getting there, my friends. Another book I picked up in the month of July was All the Missing Girls by Megan Miranda. This was my first Megan Miranda book, and trust me, I want more. I want more. So the way Megan writes this book is she writes it backwards. So you start at day 15, which, so this mainly follows our main character, Nicolette, and she has to leave her very successful career in Philadelphia. She has to leave her fiance and go home to Cooley Ridge to help care for her father. And she fled Cooley Ridge because of an incident that happened, how many years ago? A number of years ago, where one of her friends disappeared and was never found. So she has to go back home because of her dad, and you start the book out. So it has part 1, which gives a little bit of a glimpse into what we're jumping into, and then you have day 1. So the first day she came back to Cooley Ridge and kind of what happened, and she's in the process of cleaning out like her father's house, and her dad's like in an assisted living place, and so you get a little glimpse of kind of what she came home to. And I'm trying to get to the end of the chapter, and then you start kind of the bulk of the story, which fast forwards you to day 15, and you work back in time back to that day 1, which I thought was super interesting. I have read another book that was like this, so I kind of knew, I guess, how to process it better, but I could see people struggling with that a little bit because you are going back in time, and you kind of got to remember, you have to kind of train your brain to think backwards. Still highly recommend. 4 stars. And I need more. I need more from Megan, which I have another one on my shelf. I know she's written other books, but she's definitely on my radar, that's for sure. Another book I picked up in July was The Wallflower Wager by Tessa Dare, which is the 3rd book in the Duchess and the Duke series that I'm loving. It's a historical romance, and they crack me up. They're hilarious. I wouldn't say, I don't know which one's my favorite. I think the Duchess deal, the first one, is still my favorite. But this one follows another one. So that basically this series follows these 4 friends as they kind of find love. And the Wallflower Wager follows Penny, who is this, I guess she walks to her own beat. Like, she has all these animals she takes into her big old mansion where she lives, and she just doesn't really care that she's living by herself, and she just loves her friends. And there's this guy that moves in next door that's renovating the house, and basically is like, okay, well, you are a lady and you need to stay living next door because that will make my house that I'm renovating more valuable when it sells. But Penny is basically being called home by her brother because she hasn't found anybody to marry, which is so ridiculous. Anyways, but she has these animals, and she has this parrot that was living in a brothel. So what this parrot says, oh my God, at very inappropriate times, cracks me up. I don't know how I can love a parrot as a character as much as I did. But loved the books, and I believe the 4th book is coming out sometimes this fall, so I'm all about that. I actually should go put a hold on it on the library, like, right now. All right, another book I picked up in the month of July is The Guest List by Lisa Foley. This one, I don't know if my expectations for it was a little different. I ended up giving it, I think, 4 stars, but you follow, it all happens over the course, I think, of like 2 days on this very remote island. There's a very prestigious wedding going on at this island between kind of a celebrity and a very high-end, like, very successful businesswoman. And then you have the perspective of a number of guests that are coming to this island, and I mean, shit starts happening right away. Like, it should have been a sign that this isn't going to be good. I was expecting a little bit more murder, if that is inappropriate thing to say, probably not, but I was expecting a little bit more. It's more mysterious than it is like thriller-ish. So still very good. I want to check out more of Lisa Foley's and just see if my expectations of what I was thinking this book was about is what did it for me, not necessarily how she writes. So I do have The Hunting Party, I think was her other one. I do have that in my pile to read next. So 4 stars for that one. And then the last book I want to talk about in the wrap-up is The Alice Network by Kate Quinn, which I know, you guys, I finally got to it. And y'all have been right who have been telling me I need to pick up this book. Shame on me for taking so long because it was so good. So good. Oh, Kate Quinn, give me more, please, because between this and The Huntress, I love. So this follows, it's based on true events during World War II. Actually, we follow 2 timelines. So we have our timeline that occurred during World War I, and then our timeline that is occurring during World War II, which I thought, or just after World War II, which I thought was an interesting dual timeline perspective, which I loved. I did continue to remind myself that in the first timeline, it was World War I, not World War II. But that was no big deal. And we have 2 perspectives, which again, fantastic. So World War II historical fiction, dual timelines, and 2 perspectives. It's like a book written for Lindsey. So we have our 2 main characters. We have Eve and Charlie, which are 2 like badass women that I wish I could be best friends with because I love them both. So we follow Eve as she is kind of discovered and trained to be part of the Alice Network, which is a female spy ring within France. And then we have Charlie, who's just after World War II, searching for her cousin, and she is given some inside information that she needs to find Eve, and basically Eve can help her. So they go on this journey, and oh my gosh, these 2 women clash, but yet they're so perfect for each other that you see it as a reader right away, but they don't pick up on it. It's an adventure. It is mind-blowing what these 2 women go through. They are so badass. They're so strong. I love them both. It's a fantastic book, like 5 glowing stars. Read this, please, basically. So those are all the books I want to talk about today. I didn't have really, I mean, there was a couple that were just okay, but nothing that was really bad. So pretty decent reading month. I did do the reading rush, so some of them you probably heard me talk about before. And then right after reading rush, I like slumped like no tomorrow and just really didn't want to read at all. So I am currently reading a couple of books. One of them is Good Girls Lie by J.T. Ellison, which I should be done with, but I'm not. I mean, I'm getting through it. I really do like it. When I pick it up, I don't want to put it down. It's just I don't want to pick up a book lately. So I'm hoping to finish this, probably, I would hope by this weekend. I don't know. Again, it's just, I got to get back into the reading. So that follows a boarding school where it really only allows in very prestigious girls, and some very mysterious things are happening. Like, it's like, what the hell is happening at this place? And I'll tell you that it's good, but I just don't want to pick it up. But I'm also reading North and South by John Jakes with Vicky from Vicky's Book Nook. She used to be chapter 32. I'll leave a link below. She's doing a read along, her and Bobby from, what is her channel? I'll put them below. But they wanted to tackle this really huge book, and I'm like, you know, I've always wanted to read North and South. I'm going to jump on the bandwagon. So they're giving us 2 months to read it. I have it tabbed out in like the little sections. I have a Target receipt for my bookmark at the time. I'm only on chapter 2, which is about 50 pages into it. I still really like, I was worried about the writing, that it would be a little more difficult, not difficult, but it would just take me a little longer, but it's actually fantastic. I hate this mass market paperback, but it's the only one I could find, so I will deal. But that's what I'm currently reading at the moment. Couple books I need to get to this month. The Vanishing Half I have to read, which I don't see over there. I don't know where it is. Oh, there. I don't know where it is. I need to read that for book club. There's a couple other book club books, but I'm not like feeling them this month, so I may skip them and just do some mood reading just to hopefully get back on the reading train. So let me know below if you have any suggestions for reading slumps, because I could use one, like how to get out of it. So anyways, that's my wrap up. I've been talking way too long about books, but check them out. They're fantastic. Otherwise, I will see you next time. Bye.